welcome to the Claytonix Media Splash. This is episode 8 of our podcast series, which has lasted about 4 years. So, I'm very excited about that. Today, since it's the Final Four weekend, we're going to get to discuss a lot about sports, basketball. I'll throw in a little bit of soccer, the NWSL, and the international squad in women's, of course. And then, I'll also, of course, since this is a filmmaking podcast, I will talk about some films, some documentary films. Actually, one documentary in particular that I really love that's really perfect for this run by NC State this year, which has been magical for them, and it's happened before, actually, in 1983. And there's a very, very good documentary called Survive and Advance. It's on Disney Plus. It's about an hour and 42 minutes, I think. Fantastic, about the 1983 NC State squad, the Don't Ever Give Up squad with Jimmy V at the helm, who just the only difference between them and this NC State team is that team, every game went down to the wire. They were like down by 6 or 7 with like 2 minutes to go every game, and for somehow they ended up winning, and then going to the next game. That's what they called them, the cardiac pack, because it was just, it was like that for this current team in a couple games, but not as many in a row like the 83 team. But this is an improbable journey for them, and it's the way NC State does it. 40-some years, or was it 41 years since that 83 team. But that's the style, the way NC State does it. They do it from extreme underdog status to get in the Final Four and ultimately win. And I think that this current team can win it all. I don't think anybody expects them to, but it was just like that in 1983. So I do believe that they can win it all. Then I can also, in women's basketball, the state is also in it. And believe they are playing South Carolina right now, as we speak. So, and we'll get the news on that game shortly. But that is also incredible. So that it could potentially, hopefully not, but it could potentially be UConn and State in both the women's and men's, which could be really crazy. But there's one reason I don't want it to be that way is because I have in the last 3 or 4 weeks have become a super Caitlin Clark fan, because she's just amazing. I mean, look at those logo threes she's been hitting. They're insane. They are insane. And so, really, I think she is just, she's just monstrous. She's something that nobody's ever seen before, and because of her, now we're watching the game. And I mean, I always watch, I've watched women's basketball since like 2006 or 7, so I don't know what's up. In fact, when I watched them all those years ago and since, even women have told me, nobody watches women's basketball, nobody likes it, blah, blah, this and that. But I'm glad now that finally people are starting to enjoy it. Because I remember I used to watch the UNC women's and the State women's with Kay Yao, and UNC women's with Sylvia Hatchell as coach. And then I remember Candace Parker at Tennessee under Pat Summit when she won 2 championships in a row, and the second one with a broken hand. And I thought that was insane. It just didn't hit the spotlight because it was women's basketball, but I thought I had wished it had, because I thought it was an amazing story. And then now finally people are starting to like women's basketball, or notice it. it's still really not where it needs to be either, because there's still a lot of people who aren't interested in it. But hopefully that'll change, and change quickly. It could change tonight, hopefully, because these are huge games. That one that between NC State and South Carolina, and then the one tonight between Iowa and UConn, and that's the two big players on each team, Caitlin Clark and Paige Beckers. Paige Beckers for UConn, Caitlin Clark for Iowa, of course. But yeah, it's gonna be insane and wild and a nerve-wracking game to watch. But yeah, so here's my pick. I think it's gonna be, for the final game, NC State and Iowa, and I think Iowa will probably win it in women's. That's my pick for the final championship. In men's, I think it's going to be NC State and UConn, and I think NC State's going to win it. And, they're the kind of team who can be completely out of it and still end up scratching and clawing your way and staying around and hanging around and then beating you. And I think that same mentality, just like they did with the Cardiac Pack, is still there. And it's in State's DNA, so I think that they can't do that. Or they can do that. They can win it, and they can beat a number one squad that's heavily, favored over them. Both the squads are. And nobody's given State a chance at all in either of the games. So I thought that was kind of funny how they're just writing them off already. They're saying, oh, it's going to be Purdue and UConn, or it's going to be South Carolina and UConn, or something like that in either of the men's or women's. And I'm like, yeah, wow, they're really just writing off State like they're nothing, like they hadn't done this before. Yeah, it was a long time ago with different people and a different coach and everything, same school. But like I said, I think it's in State's DNA. And they know it's happened before and it's possible, therefore they know it can happen again. And that documentary, Survive in Advance, really focuses in on that. And it's the underlying message in it is hope, and what that team gave to people. Hope. And I'm a UNC fan, I'm a Carolina fan. My dad did go to NC State though. So I that is why I'll be rooting for them this weekend. And they're the only team left in this state. They're representing my state, so of course I'm gonna root for them this weekend. But yeah, I'm a UNC fan originally, and even though and the thing about UNC is that they're always, when we win the championships in the UNC, it's usually when we have an overdog squad. We can't really win as underdogs. We've been underdogs before and not got past the first or second round. State thrives as underdogs, and they always have. So I think that's just that is the thing about them, and that's what makes the story great, and makes it great for a second run like that. 41 years after it happened again would be really, really wild. And but that 83 team, that mentality and that message was hope, and they gave people hope. There was a lady whose husband was in a coma, and he was a basketball fan, she wasn't, but she turned the TV on, the game on, because maybe she could hear it, or maybe he could hear it, and then she watches the game and follows and gets to know the story of NC State and how they've battled such adversity and came back so many times at the end of the games when it was over, and unconventional strategies they had, and she starts to believe that anything is possible. And so now they're doing something that's completely different from sports. They're giving people hope. And that's why everybody loves an underdog. And with that, I think that Caitlin Clark will triumph tonight in her game. It's a kind of nerve-wracking, and people are wondering how she's going to do, and I think she's going to do well, and I think she's just insane. Like, she's just out of this world. I haven't seen, I remember thinking, oh, what's all this hype about, and blah, blah, blah. I wouldn't have fell into it, but I fell into the hype because she's worth the hype. When I saw her sink those threes from half court multiple times, and she made 9 threes in the game on Monday. And that's insane. I haven't seen men shoot from that range and make them that consistently. So that's why I was like, damn, she deserves all this hype. And that's why she's getting it now. And I'm really glad that she's bringing the sport ring light to women's basketball and to women's sports in general. I'm also a huge Alex Morgan fan, and I root for her team, the San Diego Wave. Saw them last year playing the Carolina Courage in Cary. I love to watch women's soccer, the NWSL and international squads. So, like I said, I love those particular women's sports. I love all sports. I'm a sports guy. Racing, football, basketball, soccer, I love it all. So, it's just really exciting, and I'm really glad to be able to talk about this with everybody, and let's bring these games on. Let's get it going. And that'll do it for another Claytonix Productions presents Claytonix Media Splash. Everyone have a great weekend. And go Wolfpack, and go Caitlin Clark. All right. Claytonix signing off.